Things World. We are anonymous. On April 6, 2017, on the 100-year anniversary of America's entry into World War I, Donald Trump launched airstrikes against the Syrian government, in retaliation for a gas attack supposedly perpetrated by Assad. There was no investigation, not even a hack job of a frame-up like we had in 2003. The evidence we do have contradicts the official story, and the stakes are much higher this time around than before the dust had even settled. Trump pivoted to Asia, ratcheting up intimidation tactics towards North Korea, threatening regime change and practically begging the already insecure Kim Jong-un to do something stupid. And that's the point. Provoke a response, and then play the victim. If he can't get it the old-fashioned way, he might just make one up. Trump cut a deal with the deep state, and the neoliberal, neocon, and corporate alliance. They got his back now. As long as they get their war, everybody's happy. Make no mistake, this is just the beginning. Expect the unexpected in the South China Sea, Iran, and Eastern Europe. And on the home front, the circus tent is coming down. But Donald Trump, is he gonna give us a show in the meantime? Trump isn't just flirting with World War III, he is inviting it. He wants everyone to know that he's crazy enough to pull the trigger. Thinks it'll help him twist some arms. Thinks he can force the big boys to negotiate. But this isn't a real estate deal, and that's not an ace he's got up his sleeve. Nobody wins a nuclear war. If just 300 of Russia's bombs were set off in the United States, somewhere between 75 and 100 million people would die in the first half hour. Most of the infrastructure needed to support the population would be instantly destroyed. Communication systems, hospitals, transport, power plants, etc. Those not killed by the initial blast would die slowly in the coming months from radiation poisoning, starvation, exposure, and disease. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Even a smaller nuclear conflict involving only 50 to 100 Hiroshima-sized bombs would send 5 million tons of debris into the upper atmosphere, causing global temperatures to plummet catastrophically, reducing rainfall worldwide for up to a decade, devastating agriculture, and triggering mass starvation on a global scale. That is not a world you would want to raise children in. The powers want to tip the game board, rewrite history and start again. They think you're too stupid, too distracted, too easy to manipulate by emotional platitudes to examine the evidence. It would be completely illogical for Assad to use chemical weapons at this stage of the conflict. They had nothing to gain from this and everything to lose. The Syrian army had a clear advantage at this stage with conventional means. Russia has their back, and that gave them an extremely strong position going into negotiations which were scheduled for the very next day, April 7th. Assad would have to be a total moron to do something like this. And Assad is not. Then there's the fact Assad doesn't actually have such weapons. According to the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, the last of Syria's chemical weapons were handed over for destruction in 2014. John Kerry confirmed this assessment. But Assad used chemical weapons before! Really? When? According to the UN investigation conducted on the gas attacks of 2013, as reported by the BBC, it was the rebels that used sarin, not Assad. Obama backed down in 2013 because the US-backed rebels got caught, and we held them accountable. As a people, we activated in 2013 against these airstrikes. We flooded the phone lines as Congress approached the vote. We didn't ask nicely. We made it clear that we knew their names and addresses and that we would hold them personally accountable for the consequences. Funny thing, they canceled the vote. Obama backed down, and humanity temporarily stepped away from the abyss. Trump himself spoke out against the airstrikes in 2013. He demanded a formal declaration of war by Congress, and constitutional if not, pointed out just how stupid and destructive such a decision would be. Even a week prior to the airstrikes, the Trump administration had announced that Assad could stay. Then something flipped. Donald Trump has turned the US military into Al-Qaeda's air force. He's playing chicken with humanity's future. He's rolling dice with the inhabitability of the planet. And this insanity is bipartisan. The neoliberal, neocon, corporate alliance has come out of the closet. In a disgusting show of warmongering solidarity. These haircuts and suits don't deserve your obedience. They don't even deserve your respect. It's not their power, it's yours. If enough of you figure that out, it's game over. That's why they pit you against each other, provoking artificial group identities. Divide and conquer makes you easy to control. The choices we make in the next few seconds of human history count. A lot. We have to think outside the box. Find creative ways to break the chain of obedience. And send a message in uncompromising terms. Stand down, Mr. Trump. Stand down. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me, and one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They've just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
Would you like to be the President of the United States?
I really don't believe I would run it, but I would like to see somebody as the President who could do the job, and there are very capable people in this country.
Why wouldn't you dedicate yourself to public service?
Because I think it's a very mean life. I would love and I would dedicate my life to this country, but I see it as being a mean life, and I also see it as somebody with strong views and somebody with the kind of views that are maybe a little bit unpopular, which may be right, but may be unpopular, wouldn't necessarily have a chance of getting elected against somebody with no great brain but a big smile.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not, but I do get tired of seeing the country rip.
But you might be classified as an Eastern Republican. Fair?
Well, I guess you could say that, yes.
Which means kind of a Rockefeller, Chase Manhattan Republican?
I never thought of it in those terms.
How do you define? Are you a Bush Republican?
No, I think I'm really, the people that I do best with are the people that drive the taxis. You know, wealthy people don't like me because I'm competing against them all the time, and they don't like me, and I like to win. The fact is, I go down the streets of New York, and the people that really like me are the taxi drivers and the workers, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I really get
Well, then why are you a
response.
Republican?
I have no idea. I mean, I am a Republican because I just believe in certain principles of the Republican Party.
You have flirted with the idea of politics. Now you're here at your first national convention. Does that get you interested in possibly making the plunge?
Now you have to tell me something. Who told you I flirted?
Well,
I didn't know that I flirted with.
Well, you took out full-page ads in the New York Times to talk about your foreign policy. Some people would say...
I do feel very strongly about the country. I love the country.
You've become a role model in this country. The reason that your book sells, the reason that your board game sells, is because people are looking to leaders. People are looking for values, and you're one of the people. And it's you may dismiss it, but people are talking about, Donald Trump for president. What they're really talking about is Donald Trump, show us the way. Be the true white hat.
I think I do a fantastic job, but I really would prefer not doing it.
Are you saying you will take it only if drafted?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I hope that somebody comes along who can be an advocate, and I think that somebody will be so popular,
But you haven't seen
he
anybody.
or she will be the most, but I don't see it now. I wish that person were there. It's not a question if, it's a question when.